Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Purple Science Podcast. You are hearing from me after a very long time, but in the background, I've been having a lot of fun conversations that I plan on bringing forward to you very soon. Today's conversation is a little different than usual. You'll be hearing from Ashley Wilkinson. The way this conversation happened was because of a series of posts that kept popping on my social media. I saw this person going around the country, meeting new people, meeting youth, and talking to them about environment, about climate action in the most creative ways. This is not something that is up my alley, and that's why I got instantly curious. I got in touch with Ashley and I asked him how is that he ended up in a completely science backed career in the social sector without a background in science. I got a lot of new insights and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. So let's not keep you waiting anymore and start the episode. Hi, Ashley. Welcome to the Purple Science Podcast. Thank you so much for sparing time early in the morning to record this.
Thank you so much, Rishti, and good morning. And I kind of convinced you to to sort of start this to have a early morning podcast recording.
Yeah. As I said, I
Yeah,
might either look sleepy or sound sleepy, but I think we can do with that.
no, definitely. We're both awake.
Awesome. Yeah, let's get right into the conversation. I have mentioned this to you that the one thing which excited me a lot about your journey was the fact that you have a very straight-jacketed educational background, like um, something that people might usually choose and prefer for their educational backgrounds. And then you did this gentle change into a career that is completely different. So we will try to understand how that happened. But to start with, if you can tell us for our audiences a little bit about your journey so far and what you're doing right now.
Definitely. And um, definitely, it wasn't gentle for me, for someone coming from a totally different background and to working in the social development sector.
Mhm.
But yeah, I am a youth empowerment professional. My job is to actually work with youth on different social development projects, and yeah, that's what I've been doing for the longest I know. And talking about my academics or my academic background, I come from a business background, which is totally different to what I do today. But somewhere I do believe and I do feel that my education and like more specifically, my higher education actually helps in sort of framing the kind of work that I do today. Definitely structuring it in terms of analyzing the kind of work that I want to do, or at the same time managing the kind of work that or the visions that we have. So somewhere studying management and studying business, I think it actually aids to the kind of work that we do, and I think it sort of helps in any sector for that matter.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah, but could you tell us what exactly drove you? And I want to specifically know this about your undergrad degree as well. What exactly drove you in your undergrad degree to later take up this other path?
well, I've always been a commerce student. I studied commerce and mathematics in school. But I think since school, I believe, although I was in commerce, but I was really inclined to co-curriculars or, anything social. So I remember back in school, we used to do these nativity plays or, some sort of role plays or skits. And I remember once we went to Tihar jail, which is like one of the biggest jails in Delhi,
Interesting.
and we did a small, me and my friends, all of us did a small play for them. Just, during Christmas, we used to go and visit them. We used to go to, hospitals for cancer patients and all these sort of things. So I was always inclined towards all these sort of activities or exercises because I felt that, it just I don't know, it just inclined me there. Although I was studying commerce, but somewhere I found, I don't know, I would just love doing all these sort of things, and I found a unit and a pack of friends who were actually also interested in doing the same thing. Cut to when I actually shifted to college. Again, I studied business administration, and there as well, although I couldn't find people who were inclined in the same interest like mine, so I started volunteering with different NGOs. I started working in different thematics. So may it be child rights or youth development or human trafficking for that matter. So although I don't know how, so even during our undergrad, we are expected to do some sort of internships and then prepare a report on the basis of your internship during your summer breaks. And I remember that I would always get selected into an NGO or a social development organization. Although the kind of work that we did there was very dynamic, it was not limited to some sort of social project. There was a lot of admin work as well. But I just felt interested in it and I started volunteering in these sort of projects. So I remember the first project, in fact, the first long-term project that I used to work on was on child rights, and wherein I used to go to this Anganwadi after my college classes. I remember I was in second semester, and I would go there, and we had a group and we had a class of around 16 to 20 youth, and some of them actually came from villages to Delhi to study. They didn't have they didn't have the right skills, they didn't have the right digital skills for that matter. They were lacking a lot in in the whole competitive Delhi spirits. Also, we had some young married women who had kids who who didn't know what to do after their school after their uh, kids or children went to school and their husband went to work, and they were really young, and they started this class. So we had this program wherein we would provide digital skills to them and basic computer skills so that they can actually help them in equipping them with some sort of skill set which can help in their careers. So for example, a college student who came maybe from a very remote or rural area who may not have the access of these digital skills or computers or technology, they were really struggling in the whole urban and city setup. They would not get selected in societies. They would not get selected in events, and they were really struggling in actually battling this whole process of competition and everything like that. So the whole idea was that we actually equip people who need or who may struggle with digital skill sets, and that's how I started. So I remember this project came, it actually lasted for around 8 to 9 months. And every day after college, I would go there and we would actually have classes on digital and basics of computers, how to make a PPT or how to start a computer for that matter, or how to use Word, how to make a resume, how to email someone, how to make your own email ID. And uh, to my surprise, which was totally not into my vision, some of them, because they actually learned through these classes, some of them were actually able to make their official government ID cards online. One of the young women who was married, she was able to fill her children's forms online, provided she had the digital skills. These youth were able to actually make their own Aadhaar or PAN cards online. So I think for that, these testimonies in itself gave me a lot of purpose. Even though I was studying business, it actually gave me, I started identifying things that I really wanted to do. So yeah, this is one such example that I felt that actually helped me incline to what I really wanted to do. And in those 3 years of college, I was trying to work in different social thematic areas so that, I get that dynamics of, how different sectors and how, dynamic they are, yet they are so much connected. So, this is why I was actually sort of trying to explore in different areas. So, yeah.
This is really amazing, Ashley. This is making real impact. And I'm so glad that we have a peer circle where we get to hear all of these stories. So this is
Yeah.
great, and I'll come to more of your experiences in this area. But you mentioned about some other intriguing experiences. You said you used to do plays for these different organizations, and then these internships, which were more prominently in the social impact sector. I want to know if your institution drove this, or if you can run us through the curriculum of your undergrad and master's program a little bit. Did how open is the curriculum to all of these things, or did you take the initiative? Is basically what I want to know.
Well, definitely the institution and the curriculum was very open to what you want to do. Although, I was studying business, but ultimately the whole objective of that 2 month internship or 2 month, whatever work that we had to do, we had to submit a report and we have to develop a synopsis. And all these were like management and business jargons that we had to put. We had to do a whole analysis of, okay, what kind of the kind of assignments we took in, and then we had our major and minor subjects. For example, I had marketing and minor in finance. So, how you were sort of working. And I feel that all these internships, even though they were in the social development sector, they
Mm.
are well sort of structured today. So, there's a whole admin base, there's a whole management foundation, there are a lot of policies and procedures that you need to follow, which actually inclines with a lot of administration, which I was actually studying. So in that way, the institution was always open. And irrespective of the kind of work that you're doing, till it's inclining to what you're studying, that was the whole objective. Or else, how are you inclining your academics with the kind of work that you're doing?
I
So
see.
that was there. That connection was there. And obviously, I mean, my professors, and again, my institution has always been both in my undergrad and in my postgrad. In fact, I remember when I was in my postgrad, I actually accepted a full-time role, although it was consultancy. And I remember I was in my final semester. But because my credits were, they were up to mark and I had not missed any sort of class. I would actually juggle between, two courses, and even with like taking up small scale assignments, remote assignments for that matter, it never affected my credits or my academics. So that built a trust among my professor and among my, HODs or the institution. And I actually seeked and I took approval for an NOC in my final year. So I was not actually going to college in my final year of masters. I was actually working. And fun part, I gave my final year viva sitting in a meeting room in office. So
I
I think in
imagine.
that way, I feel if you start building trust, if the kind of work that you're doing, if you're passionate about the kind of work you're doing, and if you start building trust with stakeholders and with people for that matter, definitely it will work in your favor.
This is really great. Um, would you also tell us a little bit about the transformation itself, like the switch itself? Because you moved from
Hmm.
a certain background, and what you're doing right now about sustainability and environment, a very science-backed career. Did you have to attain certain new skills, some knowledge set that you didn't have earlier and you might have struggled to? Or because let's say that for us, biology folks, I'll talk about myself, we have a background completely in biology. So usually when it comes to starting our own ventures, we do not have any basic knowledge about the field whatsoever. So was it the same for you? And what extra or special skills did you have to attain before taking this up?
Well, definitely, if you see the theoretical part of it
Mm.
or the technical part of it, it was a totally alien territory for me. But I remember during COVID, because we had those 2 years and I was doing my postgrad and everything, I actually took the initiative to upskill myself. So one of that, I got myself enrolled into a PGD program and I
Mhm.
studied environmental law. Plus, I also took a lot of short-term courses online. So, World Bank for that matter, Coursera for that matter, CFI for that matter. all of these, there are a lot of Harvard for that matter, they also offer a lot of courses which you can take up, and you can, and they are self-pacing courses. So, if you are already enrolled into an academic field, or if you are enrolled into a program, so these self-pacing course can actually give you the space and freedom to take up new skills at your own pace. So I took an initiative to research about these courses. So, even in our industry, if we take, the social sector for that matter, or environment, or climate change for that matter, climate action for that matter, a lot of things get outdated. So I ensure that, okay, I need to upskill myself with something that is updated, B, something that will actually at least help me in the next 5 years or the next 2 years. So I took up these courses, and I ensured that I complete these courses at the same time. So this was one effort that I can say to sort of upskill myself and to equip myself with maybe the technical jargons that I use in this field, to maybe like be aware of, okay, what are the kind of things that roll around. So that was one side of, exploring and getting upskilled. Second side was definitely working on ground. So I did an internship with WWF after my graduation. So
Hmm.
it was a full-time, long-term internship. So, that in itself actually equipped me with a lot of resources, a lot of knowledge and technical resources in itself. So, I feel there are two parts of it. So one is the definitely the theoretical aspect, wherein, you need to sort of read and study and research. And if you have an access to, or if you have the time and energy to enroll yourself into a long-term course, then please do so. Second part is working in this, because then again you're able to practice whatever you have learned, or whatever you want to sort of explore. So this is how I envisioned it, and I think it worked in my favor. Like both of these, like it created a balance in itself.
Yeah, this is great. So it's really interesting to me actually that COVID has encouraged a lot of us to learn some skills that we didn't even think about and that our curriculum didn't necessarily ask us to. But the time and space, the open playground that we got for exploring different things, I think really helped. Um,
Yeah.
but apart from that as well, I also want to know the perceptions of the people around you, your friends, your family, who might be seeing your journey closely and you who might have seen you transform from this one career to a very different career. What were there any reservations? Were there any concerns? And when it comes to your peers, were they inspired to take up something differently, looking at your journey? Did you get questions like these coming your way?
Well, talking about my close, I call it my close circle. So maybe my family or my friends, they have always been a foundation, and they have always held my back for anything. And in fact, that goes back to my previous point of building trust. So even with family, for that matter, although I studied business, but they had this. I mean, I sort of had developed this trust that, okay, they know for a fact that, okay, if he's doing something, he'll do it properly.
Mm,
And in that way, that they always had confidence
right.
uh, in me. And that's, I'm talking, this is since like school, because I was so active in co-curricular activities, and
Mhm.
I've always been very active, like maybe like any sort of like doing emceeing for an event, or I was part of the student council, so leading a lot of things. So I always have been conditioned in that way, at least, that uh, doing like a side, I don't know, it's sort of like a side hustle, or keep
Mhm.
on sort of being involved in something or
You're
the other.
clearly
I
a
remember.
hustler. We can see that.
Yeah, and I don't know. So for some people, it's like, okay, you need to. Uh, uh, Recently, a friend of mine told me it's so hard to chase you. So because now even to meet, it's like to sort of block your calendar, something like that. But somewhere, I always used to envision that. I really want to sort of be occupied all the time.
Right.
And COVID, for that matter, was so hard because, for someone who's always out, so like maybe college or, doing volunteering or, doing some sort of activity or learning guitar, learning a new skill. And when I say skill, it's not limited to, technical or, your field or career-based skills. Skills was as random as, learning how like trying out a new recipe or doing something creative or maybe like picking up an old interest like painting or whatever. So for me, I think all these skills actually matter, and especially being involved into something co-curricular really matters because it actually gives you a break and it's a blank canvas in what you want to do it, and additionally designing what you want to do, especially when you're working in a social sector. Maybe in fact for any sector you need to have uh, you need to paint a canvas wherein you have to bring in something new every single time. You have to sort of, at least if I talk about myself, we have to come up with something new. We have to come up with something creative, provided that we are following the right procedures and policies and everything for that matter. So this is somewhere I feel all these sort of skills or really helped. So, that way, my friends and family, they were always aware that, he's occupied into something or the other. And also, I've never been involved in a circle where someone would limit me.
Yeah. It's, I mean, fortunate or unfortunate, this is still very rare. Um, the kind of
Hmm.
support that you're getting.
Yeah.
But again, I think you mentioned it that you were the one who always took the initiative to try and do something different. So you automatically belong to sort of this exceptional crowd. Um, and it's not that everybody has the clarity of whether one should take a certain path or not, which
Hmm.
we'll come to.
Hmm.
But again,
Hmm.
I'm bringing the conversation back a little to the institutional space. Um, what are the skills or experiences you think you could have gotten throughout that journey and you did not? So now we are talking about a little bit about the solution part of it. What is that we can improve in that area? And now that in hindsight you can look at your journey, what do you think could have helped you much better? And I'm asking in the capacity of an institution, what is that
Hmm.
they could have done to help you and many other people like you who might not have the kind of clarity that you did when you graduated. So,
Well, one of the, although I don't have any regrets in terms of, the academics that, okay, I could have enrolled myself into a different course or a different field altogether. I had an opportunity, but I didn't. And maybe I feel that in that phase of yours, once you're out of college, you need to give yourself time and space to actually explore. You cannot, I find a lot of people in school and they are so ambitious and they are trying for, okay, I want to get into this college, I want to get into this school, and they have this whole plan and blueprint ready. And I remember I had no clue what I'm going to do, and I had no clue where will I work. It was, for me, it was never about where I want to work, it was always about what I want to do. And I think that is something that has always helped me. Talking about your question, where things could have helped in my favor or things could have actually leveraged the kind of work that I'm doing today. One was definitely like lack of resources that we have today. Like I
mhm.
remember when I was in college or when I was in my undergrad, I had to actually write to people. I had to actually constantly send cold emails to people, and
This
I
is just a
remember.
few years ago, right? I want to put the audience into perspective a little bit.
Well, well, I'm not that old, but my undergrad was like 2016.
Right, right.
So we were in Instagram and social media era.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and also again, no regrets. I would actually, I feel that in that particular generation, when I say resources, we did have a lot of resources, but we had to like sort of like write to people, connect with people, ask people, and look around places. Today I feel it's way all these opportunities come to your doorstep. Like I personally work in the youth, I work a lot with youth, and something that most of them are actually seeking is certificates, something as fickle and as limited as a certificate, which actually feels like, okay, you're not considering, okay, what I'm going to learn today, or if I learned something new today, or I'm trying out something new, will it be fun? But I think this whole concept of, I don't know how we have built that, that we need a certificate. They have a whole
And
plan ready that, okay, after college I'm going to go to this country and I'm going to study this, and then I'm going to have like a multi-million package, and a good company to work in. So people, even if they want to work into something, they have a sort of purpose behind it, which is good. But again, they are not focusing on the kind of work they are doing. They're always sort of focusing
mm,
on the end output, that too, which is again limited to themselves. So one thing that I which worked in my favor, I never thought about certificates. I never thought about recognition or credits. I just wanted to explore myself in different fields. But yes, talking about, what could have been better was, maybe having more field exposures, maybe having going on ground. Although, my this project wherein, we were working on child rights, it was a completely free project, but I really wish that I could actually travel to different places, maybe, sort of see how different communities work, which I do today. But in maybe in my college, maybe having more of field exposure, I think that is very important. With your academics, it's very important to go on ground. It's very important to see the ground reality, which I feel, if I had that before, it would have actually sort of helped, or maybe like paced the this whole journey or this whole trajectory.
that is really nice. I think you brought out the right points. I don't want us to diverge, but a little side question here. You said that earlier the the trends were different. The people used
Hmm.
to write and find out opportunities. Isn't it the same today? I don't think anyone's getting these opportunities served on their plate. I think you have to
No,
take the initiative and
no,
uh,
when I say opportunities, like today we have like maybe fellowship, although they used to run before also, but a lot of cohorts are formed of youth, or for students who can
mm.
actually get themselves enrolled. A
Is there
lot of
awareness though?
institute I think awareness, I mean, I remember, I'll give an example. When I was in my postgrad and I was looking for, job opportunities, I knew for a fact that, okay, I'm in times of the pandemic and I know the job market is down. So what will I do? So I made it a point that every morning, like I'll devote 1 hour or maybe 1.5 hour just for cold emails. So, I would literally blindly write and send my resume to n number of people. And in fact, I was not even on LinkedIn that then. One of my friend actually brutally convinced me that, okay, you need to get on LinkedIn, connect with so many like-minded people. Although it never helped, it never turned, it sort of converted into a job, those conversations or whatever for that
Mm-hmm.
matter. But somewhere I got a lot of insights, and it built a lens of, okay, how different people, how different companies and how different organizations do hiring. What are their processes? What do I have to work on? So, I think a lot of people to take an effort to, do these. And I think generations before me also, when they didn't have LinkedIn or when they didn't have emails for that matter, they would actually post their resumes to people. They would actually go door to door on a organization and send their resumes who wanted to
Yeah.
work in these fields. So that definitely is there. I feel in terms of opportunities, today we do have a lot of, in fact, we have access of opportunities, which is also
Right.
confusing. You know why? Because there are two things, opportunities and information. Something that I'm actually trying to figure out right now, currently with my life also, is the access of information that we have. To the time we wake up, we switch on our phones, maybe the news that we are following or the social media. And when I say information, it's also your day-to-day chats, it's day to your emails that you're sending or messages that you're sending. So there is so much of information that is going into your brain, and only one, like really a very limited percentage of act is actually getting converted into knowledge. And that I feel is like, I mean, it just gets very confusing for if we
Mm.
talk about today's youth, that because they have a plethora of opportunities, they have a plethora of, um, things that they can do, but they are confused into choosing which one is the right. So,
Yeah.
that is something that I feel a lot of people are struggling with, because access of opportunities or access of information or knowledge can also be a bit uh, confusing, or it can actually cause a little stir when it comes to choosing the right option. So I think
Yeah.
that is something that people struggle
That is very right. And I think that also connects with the point that you made about certificates. I think because
with.
a lot of information that comes their way doesn't really transform into something, uh, it doesn't translate into a skill or let's say an employable skill. They look
Hmm.
for these symbolic um, something to show to the employer basically,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is I think it's our limitation at the moment. It is a limitation of the institutions that they're studying in.
Hmm.
This is a loophole in the education system.
Definitely. I think
Yeah.
definitely the point of it is a sort of gap in the institution or the system that we
Hmm.
have, wherein
Right.
we need to prove our worth through a piece of paper like certificate,
Right.
or we
Exactly.
have to prove people or organizations that, okay, I have got enrolled into this particular course or this workshop or this seminar, and I am carrying this certificate or thappa, so you can hire me. But personally, something that, like a free tip that I can actually suggest, at least from my experience, is that beyond certificates or beyond recognition or credit, also focus on what really interests you. It is really important. I feel in today's generation, especially today's youth who's entering the job market or who's entering the workforce, a lot of people are doing very sad jobs. A lot of youth who are not happy with, what they are doing. They actually, I mean, they got enrolled into a course, then they got a job placement, and now they are actually doing that job, but they're actually not happy with the hustle. I feel it's
Hmm.
really important to find purpose and find interest and intent in what you want to do. It is really important because it keeps you going. There are times that with any job or any kind of assignment that you're working, there are times when you feel like, okay, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Or like this is not what I signed in for. Or there are tough days wherein you sort of question yourself. But if you have a foundation of purpose, if you have a foundation of interest, it will definitely, the next day you wake up, you will be like, okay, I'll sort of deal with it, and
Yeah.
also, come up with a solution. So I think that in itself is very important.
Mhm.
And I feel if youth start focusing their work, what they want to do, from, choosing companies than the work they want to do. I think it's really important. And in fact, talking about certificates, like why not we sort of, uh, work on a research paper and submit it to, an organization that, okay, chuck the certificates, this is something that I've done, would you like to see it? Or this is a concept note that I have, would you like to see it? If I am in the place of a recruiter, I would rather see that than a certificate they have got from a seminar. So this is my personal perspective, again, my personal inputs, not talking about any big organizations, but yeah, but as a personal tip for youth, and especially for students who want to enter the job market, uh, please focus on what you want to do, because in the long term and in the long run, that will definitely help you and that will definitely sustain you.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with that. Um, this is exactly what, so in fields like yours and mine, it is very difficult to have like a straight-jacketed path, whether it comes to education and then later getting a job. Um, we have to, the motivation has to come from inside. There is a lot of people who will come to me and ask, how do you get into psychom? What degree should I pursue? And I'm like, that is not how it works. And it's so unpredictable in terms of the money that we get, whether we get a job or not, whether we have to start things on our own, what kind of scope this field has, which I think is similar to yours. And yet, if you're really driven, if you're really motivated to do this, you'll be happy. That is for sure. And you'll make a difference.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
people need to understand that one. And as you said, if they can do something at their own level, a small
Hmm.
project, a small community building project, talk to the
Hmm.
people around them, try to work with them. That is much more
Hmm.
impactful, than trying to, get all of these skills on paper from an outside organization. So
Hmm.
that is much more feasible, and I really encourage people to do that, try and do that, at least when they're in their undergrads and these early stages of their careers. But again,
Definitely.
yeah, yeah, please go ahead.
No, no, I was saying I totally agree with you. And in fact, what I have studied business and I've been to a B school, and most of, in fact, 99% of the students that come to B schools or management institution, they come with the purpose of getting a job. And I think not just with management school, with any college for that matter, because definitely a lot of money is being invested into,
Yeah, which is
getting
okay,
enrolled
which
into
is
the,
okay.
which
That,
is fair. And
yeah,
I think employability, turning your qualification into a job is something
mm,
that is very important. But
exactly.
also another thing that I've realized over the time is that education cannot guarantee you employment. It is There are a lot of other factors that also go parallel with your education that will drive you into an employment. And another thing is that when you're actually sitting for interviews and when you're actually sort of meeting people, communication is something that is really key. Sometimes people are able to sell themselves like they don't have like a good academic background or a good resume, but the way they're able to sell, and that's what management of business schools, like that's what marketing students that I mean, all these B school students are taught to how to sell themselves. And I think irrespective of the fact that which field you're in, either you're studying biology or anything for that, any subject, you should really know how to sort of market the kind of work that you're doing. If you have done a research paper, if you have, something as short as, any small assignment, if you're able to market that, people will hire you. And I think that is something that we need to also, that's another skill that I've realized over time that lacks among a lot of students.
Right, and you yourself work with youth. You work on youth
Hmm.
empowerment, as you said. Um,
Yeah.
we would actually love to hear experiences from that journey as well, because you go to all of these different places around the country, meet all of these different communities. So, can you draw us a picture about what it looks like, what the empowerment scenario in India looks like?
Well, I don't know how much empowerment I've done in my professional career, but definitely I've met some really, really amazing youth. And I think that some of these youth come from the most remote geographies of the country.
Mm.
I mean, I live in Delhi and I work a lot with, urban youth in colleges and different institutions. But I do have a fair share of, travel in different parts of the country, and especially really the marginalized communities and really remote areas of the country. And I feel I've met the most amazing youth there. I have met the most aware youth there. We have this, narrative that people who have qualification or people who live in the city, they are so much aware of what's happening, or they are so much aware of, what's trending and all these sort of things. I feel personally, people in the rural communities are way more aware, especially youth in the rural communities. They are way more aware of their social fabric and their social structure. They are able to relate to what they have seen in the past. They are actually making a lot of, breakthrough changes in within their communities. And when I say breakthrough, I mean there are a lot of social challenges that they have to face.
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of there are a lot of girls from these communities who have to face a lot of social challenges within the community itself. Still, they are actually trying to make a change, and that in itself is so inspiring for me. And uh, one of the experiences I want to share is that last year I was in this place called Kovalam in Tamil Nadu. And I met a group of youth who are local fishermen, and they are, they all live around the coast, and they all run water sports with any tourist who comes in, surfing and diving. And they are also from the fishermen community. And met them, and we were talking to them. We were talking on the point of plastic pollution that is found around the coast. And one point that we raised was they timely they conduct cleanups on the beach because they feel that it's their place, it's their home, and it is their responsibility to to keep their space clean, and the beach for that matter and the ocean for that matter is their home. And irrespective of anyone else littering that place, they will clean it. But one point they raised was that most of the packets that they pick during their cleanups, and they are doing it completely voluntarily, most of the packets that they pick up, they don't even consume them. Chips, chocolates, any other consumables, most of them are foreign goods. They
Mm-hmm.
actually come from foreign waters, which gets flown, carried away with water to their shore. They still clean it. Some of them are actually from the city. So, all these sachets or packets that they have found, the chocolates that are found, they don't even consume them. They are still doing that. So I think this is so much inspiring to see that someone who is not really considered that, will I get a certificate? Will I get some credits? Will it help me into a job? And there's not even like some sort of purpose that, okay, or some sort of benefit that they are seeking from these exercises. They're just doing it because they feel it's right. And I think that is something that I feel when I say they are way more aware, is this is what I'm trying to sort of connect, that a lot of youth in the city areas, they feel that we are way more aware, we are way more educated. Okay, we know about what's trending. But I feel that youth in the rural communities, they have the most challenging lives if some of them are working as leaders, or working in social impact for any, in fact not even social impact, for any sector for that matter. And I feel that in itself is so inspiring.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that experience. I'm sure that, um, I mean, if people don't get inspired to do this themselves, at least they will be aware that there are initiatives like these that exist, and we can support them in some or the other format. But
Definitely.
this is really great. And if you can also tell us, since you've interacted with so many such diverse kinds of experiences, whether it be in the urban centers or otherwise, um, what are the challenges that these people are facing? Because you use this term called livelihood when you talk about the work that you do, because you work on facilitating them into getting these livelihoods. What are the struggles and challenges that they are facing? And are there any solutions? If you've come across any solutions that are so obvious that it would make an impact and it'll be helpful, but it's not being done and we are not doing it. If you can point some of these, maybe through this conversation, we can initiate something.
Well, I have recently entered this avenue of, livelihood is, to be more specific, sustainable livelihood. So there's this concept of, green skills that we are trying to build. And I think recently we have sort of worked, in fact, I've worked on some projects and assignments wherein we have tried to upskill. And I always say upskill because, these communities already have skills. So, in maybe providing them green skills, and which can ultimately sort of lead to an alternative source of livelihood. And again, I say alternative because they already have, maybe if they are in a rural community, farming is their primary source of livelihood. And so we're actually trying to build an alternative source. And most of the assignments that we have tried to work on, we have tried to engage women there, because women, again, have a lot of challenges in these communities, and livelihood is one such area, because they have basic skills. Skills can be something around cooking or stitching or knitting, because always in these communities they are very limited to these skills, but we are trying to actually upskill them into, what, maybe from stitching and knitting, maybe using a stitching machine. And when I say green skills, we try to ensure that these things are sustainable, and they don't impact the local biodiversity. Any of these skills or any of these livelihood does not impact the local ecology or biodiversity of that area. Talking about the challenges, definitely there are a lot of challenges when it comes to livelihood, economic, social, political, and I think all of them are somewhere interrelated. Um, but yes, definitely not just us, but I feel the community or the stakeholders in itself face challenges every single day. Yet they are able to support, yet they are able to actually turn up and, sign up for such initiative. In some cases, women need to take permissions. Even today, they need to take permission from their husbands or their families, that can they go for this training, or can they go for this 2-day workshop where I will learn, this particular skill. So, they still have these stigmas, they still have to sort of, and I again, it comes with the social fabric that we sort of reside in. But yes, definitely there are a lot of challenges, in some cases, even political, wherein the panchayat is there, or a lot of these things happen. So, there are couple of challenges that people need to say, especially if I talk from the lens of the stakeholder whom we are trying to engage. But I do also feel that in such from such communities, they have that intent and they have that drive to, even if they have to go through these challenges, I'll make sure that I, sign up for this. So, recently we worked on this project wherein we tried to equip a community of women from a rural community of Odisha, and wherein, we sort of formed a cohort of 80 women, and we sort of upskill them in making life jackets out of rice sacks and PET bottles. So wherever I go, I often ask the community that, okay, what are the challenges that they face, or what are the things that they want. And I remember I met the lady, the head of the SSG group, the self-help group there, a very senior citizen of the community. And she mentioned that, okay, the the local government or the local municipality, whatever, they have actually they encourage them to build a public sanitation center, a public toilet for the community, especially for the women. Right. And they build that. So, and wherever I go to these community, I do ask these questions about water and sanitation. How do they sort of procure their water? Do they have access to clean water? Do their children have access to clean or healthy food or nutritious food? Are they getting their daily, are they able to actually manage their daily nutrients for their kids? So, I asked these basic questions, and one of them was definitely sanitation and water. And she told me that, okay, because I saw a lot of women around the river and around the lake, they were actually washing their clothes. They were actually, even in some cases, even taking a bath there in the same water. And I asked her, and she said I mean, some, corporate or with the help of the district or whatever, they have built a toilet, a public toilet, but there is no water. And now they are seeing to make awareness in this community. It's like, what will I make awareness of? Like the women have a space, but there's no water inside. So they will still go to the lake. So, a lot of these challenges where they have something, but again, the whole structure of it, it's just so sad to see that, even today, when like a 30-year-old or a 25 or 30-year-old women, young women, married women is coming just to sort of get herself equipped or upskilled, she needs to take permission from her family or she needs to take permission from her husband. So I think a lot of stigmas which serve as challenges for communities, not just women, also for men. But yeah, that's what I feel that, and there are n number of them. And but when I say rural communities, urban communities are also not less. A lot of youth in urban space also have challenges in sort of getting livelihood or getting equipped themselves
Yeah, yeah.
with these resources. I mean, there are a lot of them. So I feel, yeah.
Yeah, true. Everybody has their own kind of challenges, but it is so true that for us who have all the resources in the world, and in fact, it makes us difficult to choose from them. We sort of sometimes have very superficial problems, and we are not even thinking about the actual on ground difficulties that we are facing in terms of environment, climate action. And I won't go into the depth of it, but you get the gist. And then where
Yeah.
people have challenges with something as basic as sanitation or as basic as trying to get clean water, I think the purpose or the motivation becomes much more focused, and it's easy for them to get, I mean, not easy as in, I think it's much more um obvious that they get these deliverables, these action items that they can work on, and that is something we should pick up from them. So again, this brings me to, if you can just, for everybody who is listening to this conversation and who might be motivated by the experiences that you shared, and they want to contribute to this field in any capacity, for them, if you can give them a certain layout, and not to make this straight jacketed again, because we know it's not as easy as getting a certificate and then
Yeah.
yeah, you're good to go. It's not the same as that. But if you can give us a little bit of a layout, and how we can just be aware of our own surroundings, how we can contribute to that first, and then slowly how do we identify these problems and go about finding solutions for them.
I think, like, I would actually connect this with a point that you raised, that, if someone turns up to you that, how do I enter the field of psychology, provided
Mhm.
I haven't studied psychology.
Yeah.
So I believe in this concept of interconnectedness of different fields and of a common vision and purpose. If we take the case of climate action, I feel it is not limited to scientists. I feel it's not limited to people who have studied science, biology, or zoology.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it's everyone's responsibility, because environment today for me is in most of the cases, it is a human right.
Yeah.
Having access to a clean environment, having access to a healthy environment, it is a human right. And I think it's all of our responsibility, irrespective of which field we come from. You may be a singer, you may be a finance person, a banker, you may be a social media marketing manager, you may be an actor, you may be anyone for that matter, you may be a homemaker. I think everyone can contribute to this particular mission. And I feel it's everyone's responsibility to contribute, provided it is a human right today, and also voice their opinions on actually having access to a clean environment or having access to, you know, a healthy ecosystem. I think one point is that. Second is that again, you don't have to focus on, the credits or the academics of it. You can see how in your particular skill set, whatever skill set that you have, you can actually see that how can I contribute. For someone who's in finance, they can help in auditing or maybe doing a carbon audit for an organization. So that's where finance can be. A marketing person or a social media person who is actually doing marketing for brand, they can also market for a cause. They can do marketing for a campaign. They can do marketing for any social issue. They can actually use a lot of different mediums and tools of spreading the word to different people and the masses. To someone like a homemaker, how can they make their own home sustainable? How can they can actually do an audit of, okay, what are the kind of um, things that they are actually consuming? How can they actually limit their plastic consumption at home? How can they actually have a more eco-friendly practice at home? I think everyone here can contribute. To a musician as well, how can you can create music or documentaries, or filmmakers can make, sort of small films. And why not, I would like to see something on Netflix that relates to the social or the environment concerns of India or any such communities. So why not have such people come together, work together, and actually work together for a common mission, which is everyone's responsibility and everyone's human right. So I think that in itself, uh, you know, sort of holds an answer and holds us accountable to actually, irrespective of the fact which field you are, irrespective of the fact that what you are studying, what you have studied, and where you're working, we all can contribute. We all can work for this common, vision of climate action. And that's what I believe in. And that's what I feel youth should come forward, because it's our future tomorrow. It's something that we will occupy that space. And we need to ensure that when we are occupying that space, when we are entering the market, we are aware, we are actually, updated, okay, with what the needs that we have. And we should have all these resources, and we should be upskilled with what's happening around the climate, what's happening around my environment. Why is the local plastic problem, like why are there, the air in the city so bad? What can we do? Why is there so much plastic pollution around my park? So, we need to be aware, and we also need to start voicing these opinions to masses. And when I say voicing, it doesn't have to be like to a media house, or you need to publish an article. It can be as small as reaching out to your local RWA or to your local municipality and voicing your concerns there. Start with that. So I think everyone has a role to play in this, and everyone needs to own their responsibility for having a cleaner environment. So that's what I believe in, and that's what I feel that youth should also focus on.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think you were very right in saying this. One important takeaway for me from this conversation was that people throw around this word passion very easily these days. And while not everybody finds one, you can always find things that need to be done and pair
Hmm.
it up with the resources that are available to you or the skills that you already might have or something that you might want to learn, and then try to make a difference in people's life. Your own, if starting with your own, of course. So that is very right. Thank you so much for mentioning that. So, one final thing as we are towards the end of the conversation that I'd like to ask is, if because you are one of them, if youth faces any challenges to advocate for such things when it comes to solving real life on ground problems and something that you work in, wildlife conservation, climate action. What are some challenges that you face while advocating for it, especially um, um, in our culture and our society? And since we have very limited time, we won't go into the depths of it. But if you can give a brief insight into this. That'll be really helpful, and we can end the conversation on that. Yeah.
Well, definitely, Srishti. So I'll try to answer as short as possible, but
Mm.
I'll also reflect as a youth and not as an organization, as a youth perspective on advocacy. So something that I've recently learned is the difference between activism and advocacy. In most cases, activism sounds rebellious, or you are,
Mm.
maybe you're forming a cult, or maybe this is what we want to do, or all those sort of things. Advocacy, for that matter, is about, okay, I believe in something,
Yeah.
I want to advocate about it, I want to make other people aware about it, and I want to ensure that I follow the right mediums to actually pass on my word. I think that is sort of the distinction between uh, advocacy and activism that I've learned
Mm.
recently. And advocacy for any cause, and it can be as small as voicing your opinions at workplace, to voicing your opinions at home. It can be in your classroom. We all need to advocate for something or the other that we believe in, and I think in today's time it is very crucial to actually start stepping forward and taking a leap to advocate in the things that we believe in. But before advocating, we need to ensure that we believe in that. We need to ensure that we actually practice that. A lot of people are like, okay, let's talk about eco-friendly products or sustainable products, and they're not even using them. There's a lot of these products are not even practical in today's time. So so you need to ensure that we believe in them, we actually stand for these particular things or subject that we want to advocate on. And second, we can advocate, and there are different ways and mediums of advocating. In fact, we have a lot of tools to advocate about something as big as getting into policy and then advocating, to something as small as actually using your Instagram and putting a story on what's happening around your society or your community. So there's no hard and fast rules when I say advocacy, and there's no something big or small. You can
Yeah.
start with something as small as that, and a lot of cases something as small as an Instagram story has grown into a movement today, and we have seen so many cases and so many campaigns which have run around, where youth and people have connected, and like-minded people have connected with the kind of content or the kind of cause that you're standing for. So I think that is something that I really feel that's something that is crucial. Yet we need to be aware in terms of the distinction or the mediums that we are following to advocate about something.
Yeah, I completely agree. As we already said that if people pair up the resources, the skills that they have, with the real life needs, the real life problems, on ground problems, I think we'll be up in a much better shape in the coming years. I can see that happening already, and I wish you luck for all the amazing projects that you are about to take this year, and I hope that we also get to hear about all of them very, very soon.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you so much for giving me this platform to have this conversation. I hope that a lot of you will be able to relate to our journeys, and
Yeah.
definitely a big shout out to Srishti for actually organizing this. For those who don't know, Srishti has a full-time job, and she actually has this podcast that she runs, that we run, both of us run with like in really odd times, either it's early morning or late night. So I think that is, I think that's commendable, Srishti, and a lot of
Thank
power
you
to
so
you,
much.
and a lot of kudos to you. And yeah, and all the best for many more such podcasts. I think it's a great tool to make youth, and not just youth, anyone aware of
Mm.
no matter whatever you want to talk about. And I think that is something that is so, so cool. Thank you so much.
Again, thanks so much for the very stimulating, refreshing start of the day. I'm sure that
Yeah,
people will find this conversation helpful. We can hope that. And I hope to see you again with some new stories on the podcast.
definitely, definitely. I want to actually do an outro for the dancing neuron,
Sure,
if you want.
sure, sure.
All right. So now you can stream more such podcasts or any platform for that matter, may it be Google, Spotify, Audible. All you need to do is search the Purple Science podcast, and you'll find more such of these conversations there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is such a good touch.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've studied marketing. I know how to. I mean,
There
what
you
we
go.
need.
That's how you use it.
That's where my degrees help.
And that's it for today's episode. I hope you like this new flavor of the Purple Science podcast. If you did, please keep writing to us because your feedback is how I thrive this podcast. Thanks for tuning in to the Purple Science podcast. We share stories every Tuesday. Our inbox is always open for your feedback, and our DMs across all social media platforms linked in the description are open to your unique stories. If you know somebody who might benefit from this, do share the podcast with them and spread the joy of learning.